everyone, and welcome to the second webinar in our Prep School series. Today's webinar is all about phonics, and I'm joined by our resident experts. I've got Miss Ibrahim, our phonics lead and reception class teacher, and our Deputy Head Inclusion and Learning Support, Mrs. Pickwick. Many of you might have joined us in the Trinity term for our very popular gin and phonics teaching evening, where parents were availed of as much information about phonics as we could cram into an hour in the Bardale Hall. But if you weren't able to make it, don't panic, because today is a wonderful chance that we're going to revisit lots of that teaching, lots of different tips and tricks to help you help your children with phonics. So phonics is a very important part of children's journey at school. It starts in reception, but it doesn't end there. And it's very much the building block that underpins reading and writing. The aim of this webinar is really to demystify phonics a little bit and show you and talk to you about how we teach it in school and how you can support your children at home. So, without further ado, whether it's your very first phonics session ever or you're topping up your knowledge that you already have, we're going to be talking in general terms and asking lots of questions about how we can help with phonics at home. So, right, first question. So, can you tell us, Miss Ibrahim, what does phonics look like in reception at 4 years old? You've just started school. Your parents are wondering what you're doing there all day.
Of course.
Can you tell us what that looks like for them?
So we start off in reception from week 2 with very short daily structured phonics lessons. So these are roughly about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes initially building up. And these are very much multisensory. So we say the sound, we see the letter, we associate them, we write it in the air, we practice on whiteboards, we practice listening to sounds and begin to blend, referred to as oral blending. We make this fun using pictures. What's in the box? We take out pictures associated with the sound for the day. We have mini challenges, for example, with the teacher. Okay, will you be able to guess the sound? Does it begin with this sound? Does it end with this sound? We have interactive listening games and grapheme spotting. So when they teach the grapheme associated to the phoneme, we then shuffle once we've learnt a few of the phonemes, and they're able to spot those in the sound pack.
Okay, let's do some translating there first of all.
Of course, terminology.
Graphemes, phonemes.
So phoneme is the sound the letter shape makes. Grapheme is the letter shape itself.
Can you give me an example?
So for example, the letter S,
Yeah.
the phoneme is S. The grapheme is the letter shape of S,
Oh,
the actual letter shape
right.
itself.
Right, okay.
And then the grapheme phoneme correspondence is the letter shape with the sound S, and that's what we use as cards. So we call them GPCs.
Right, okay.
Through the scheme.
Yeah. Oh.
You will soon get to the hang of it.
I'm learning something.
We have sent parents information
Yeah.
about this, and there's so much on the Little Wonder website, which is
Exactly.
where weekly through Tapestry we pinpoint parents to
Right.
the
There are
website.
parental videos
Absolutely.
as well. which
So if
we
you're
recommend.
watching this and think I might not be quite up
Yeah.
to speed with what my child's doing, then Tapestry is the place to head to.
The Little Wonder website
Oh, the Little Wonder
and
website.
Tapestry,
Right.
which
Yes.
is
Okay.
got all the information there.
Right. Okay. And how, we're week 5 now. How, just in general terms, it's not going to be the same for everybody, but how is things getting on?
It's been amazing. We have lots of positive feedback from the children and parents. They're loving phonics lessons. They're loving learning more sounds, and they're beginning to show how much of this they enjoy in discovery learning. They're beginning to mark make. They're beginning to read. We're sending books home next week. We've started our reading practice in school, and children are delighted at the prospect of beginning to put those sounds together to read words. So whether they're segmenting, saying the sounds out and then blending to read the words, it's been joyful in our lessons as we're beginning to extend.
And if a parent has a child that perhaps didn't do any of this at nursery and it's the first time they've been taught it, is that a thing that people might be worried about, that some people might have already started this and their child's only just started at school?
Not at all. We the scheme we follow, Little Wandle, caters for all pupils.
Okay.
We have a base point we start off where we're teaching everybody the same, but obviously the support, the guidance, the challenge and the stretching comes through having 2 members of staff in a classroom and working individually with the children as well.
So, my next question for you both. What are the typical stages of phonics progression in the early years, and how can parents understand if their child's making the right progress or is just generally on track?
Okay, so the phonics actually begins from phase 1, which is where children arrive to us having had that experience. So phase 1 starts in nursery. It is all about the listening, the phonological development, it's rhyming, rhythm and oral blending. When they come to reception, we teach phases 2 and 3, and then we also cover phase 4, in which there are no new phonemes to be taught, but they're reading longer, more complex words using the phonemes we've taught in phases 2 and 3. And then they move on to phase 5 as they move into year 1. In terms of if your child is on track, they should be retaining and recognising the taught sounds, beginning to blend simple sounds together to read words. Our main aim this half term is all about blending. So some children have already begun to blend orally. They may be able to hear the sounds and put them together to say the word. Some of them are beginning to segment and read words independently in books.
Is that something that parents can help with at home? Maybe ask what sounds they did today, or what is that to be encouraged?
Absolutely. We send home a tapestry post weekly.
Definitely, yes, Mrs. Pickwick.
On tapestry. So there's a weekly post that goes out to say to parents, just a reminder, these are the sounds we've covered. But if you ask your child, they should absolutely be able to tell you the sound they've covered for the day. And
don't believe them when they say they didn't do anything at school all day.
No, absolutely not.
It's sent home, isn't it?
Absolutely,
regularly?
And it's a specific. So if you were to say to your child, what sound did you learn today in phonics? Then they should be able to recall the sound. It's only 1 a day that we're teaching at the moment. So
you were doing guh the other day when I dropped in.
Absolutely, yes.
And you're all the time assessing, aren't you?
We are.
Very careful
continuous assessments because anyone that's not on track has that individual one-to-one. Through the scheme, it's called the keep up, because we want children to be able to keep up with the pace rather than catch up. So it's all about going back, checking. We do lots of repetition. It's all about reviewing daily.
So that's quite proactive rather than reactively trying to fill gaps. It's identifying.
It's daily, so you can tell which children have not managed those sounds, and nothing is left. So it's instant one-to-one for them to overlearn, to get it, and to keep moving forward really with everybody
We
else.
have the phoneme sound mats are in the children's diaries, so parents can also flip to the back and say, right, you know, if they're not sure, for example, which sound, they can point, they can go through, and they should be able to remember all the sounds prior to the one they've learned from the day as well. So that's another way for parents to be able to check.
Absolutely.
If they've got any concerns, by all means reach out to their child's teacher. I'm also always available, as is Mrs. Pickwick.
Absolutely.
Another polite reminder to check the diaries.
Yes, absolutely.
And I've heard about pure sounds and their importance. Now, this is the first time I'd heard of this, so can you explain what that means and how parents can support with this at home?
So when we teach phonics, it is absolutely imperative that we say the purest form of the sound, and this is normally the shortest form as well. So for example, it's quite easy when you're learning or teaching the sound M, for example, say M. However, that's not the purest form. The purest form is M. So if you're saying M, you're adding a schwa at the end, and that is seen, and research has shown, to be very confusing for young children. So for example, if I give you an example with a schwa and how difficult this makes it for a child to blend. So for example, instead of saying at, if you're saying ma, at, you're adding extra sounds that the child then has to think harder in order to be able to blend. So it has to be the purest and shortest and crisp sound.
I suppose that's maybe somebody getting confused with the letter ma, you know, M, ma. And rather than the sound, isn't it?
Well, I think we used to say the sounds differently.
Yes,
So you know, the way we were taught, or maybe even So that is completely different. We were taught
K
is the sound, and it's not. It's, So there's quite a difference.
Right.
And it's practicing that difference. It's not difficult, really, but it's just practicing.
Yeah.
What we also find is there's differences between schemes as to sometimes just how a kind of a phoneme is pronounced as well, which is really important. So it has to be the shortest form of the sound.
And again, any confusion, go to the website.
On the website, Little Wonder, we have the engaging parent section, and there are specific videos for phase 2 sounds, phase 3, phase 5. So there is examples of these being pronounced. The parents can obviously use that.
Just and check they're doing it right.
Also, I'd say, do take notice of your child. If your child is saying to you,
they will
not how.
You.
Absolutely, they are the best teachers. That's
not what Miss Ibrahim says. I think they'll probably say to you, won't they?
Also, if anybody isn't like a native English speaker and worries about that, our door's open. We will happily go through with parents.
Always come in, always ask.
Absolutely.
That's the message, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And once sounds and letters and all of that leads into words and into reading, when the books or the words are coming home for the children to read, are we still focusing on individual letter sounds, or are we focusing on the word? I genuinely don't know the answer to that.
Well, the thing is that reading is made up of so many different processes, if you like, and strategies. And just like when we, as adults, come across a word that we don't know in a book, we may revert back to phonics to be able to decode that.
Right.
And that's absolutely fine to do that. So decoding using phonics is one strategy for sure. So you can, if a child gets stuck, they can definitely be encouraged to use phonics to decode.
Just sound it out.
Yeah. But it's not the be all and end all. So the most important thing is that they're being given books that they will be familiar with, the words and the stories and the text.
Yeah.
Because we want them to be reading books that are 95% words that they can decode independently or read independentely.
Yeah.
They also use a variety of other strategies. So we will also be sending home sight words soon. They haven't had have they had them in yet? I don't think so in reception, or have they?
We are sending out next week.
Yes.
Or sorry, this week.
Yes.
In fact, reading books with high frequency words.
So
they've got their laminated sheets.
Because of course there are words that you cannot sound out. So to rely on just decoding and sounding out would not.
So is that
work.
what a sight word is? You know it by sight.
That's right.
It's one of those ones you just have to. What's an example of a sight? Is there a common one? Yes, of course.
So the scheme refers to these as tricky words because they don't follow the sort of the pattern of teaching children phonemes. And then suddenly within that word it doesn't make that same sound.
No.
So then we refer to them as tricky words, and they need to be learned by sight.
And that is familiarity. So you have to keep seeing those words until you just look at it and know
what it is.
That's it. The other things that when you're reading with your child is you are allowed to use pictures to guess what that meaning might be and what the sentence might be. So that supports the decoding using phonics, the sight words. So you're also using reading picture cues, semantics as well. What does the whole sentence mean? What's going on in the story to be able to work out that one word that is eluding you, you can't quite get it. So you use a variety of those structures. So semantics, the meaning of the text.
Yeah.
Have you seen a word that maybe looks like it, like another word that you've already come across? Say talk and walk, something similar. So you use your experiences. So they should be encouraging fluency as well as decoding, as well as enjoyment. And do not be worried if your child can read it. It's the right level. So sometimes a lot of parents think that just because they can read the book quite well, it's too easy for them and they move on. But that's not just what reading's about. No. Because it's about understanding what you're reading to. Yeah.
I think that conversation carries on.
It does.
Further into
it does.
There's a lot going on when you're 4 and learning to read and learning your letters and sounds, isn't
it?
More
complex than you think.
Yeah. Gosh, dear me. Okay, so best way to support learning at home without confusing and contradicting. What's your top 5 each, or top 3 each?
Absolutely pure sounds.
Yeah.
Pure sounds. You're agreed on that one, Mrs. Pickwick's definitely agreeing with this one.
I would say for the time being, and this comes from the scheme as well, steering away from letter names rather. So we're just, when we're teaching children the sounds, we do, children, if they know already, we can say, yes, this is letter shape S, but it makes a sound S, but it's not very prominent in the scheme, for example. So I'd say when you're trying to read, saying to a child, right, it's an SAT, can you read it? It needs to be using the sound, so it's at, sat, so purely focusing on phonemes. Letter names,
not confusing with the letter names.
Letter names will come at a different and further stage of the scheme. Yes,
once they've got the sounds.
Once they've got the sounds and they've got that familiarity with that. I would say reading daily. That is an expectation.
I was going to say little and often.
Absolutely.
Does that get signed off in the communication diaries?
So what we do at Forest School is we change pupils' books weekly, but only if there is a comment and a signature from parents. If there isn't, then we assume they may not have read. And unfortunately,
you need to be signing the diary.
They will not be changed. So please, 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 it's really important. And what you'll find is a weekly comment from their reception teacher, reception staff will put a comment in, something that they've done really well in, something that you could continue working with them at home. And please, likewise, if you can just give us a little bit of comment of how they're reading at home and what we can then focus and pick up on in school. So it's mirroring home and school in order to best support the child.
What about if one of them, I mean, I may be speaking from experience here, I may not. What if your child doesn't like doing their sounds and it's a bit of a battle? Is it a battle we need to have at home and they need to keep practice?
I'd say make it as fun as possible. So, ice a cake with them, ice a biscuit, turn it into a game. It does not need to be arduous.
Sat at a table like a lesson.
Absolutely. Make it out of Play-Doh. Make dough.
Sand.
Yeah,
I've seen
sand,
you do it in
squirt it on the floor.
Yes.
The phonics, you name it. Be as creative as you can. Get the paints out.
Right. So the eagle-eyed amongst you, the continuity-focused people will notice we're wearing different outfits. It's not the Oscars. We haven't had an outfit change. We experienced some technical difficulties, so we're recording this part of the webinar at a different time. But we're going to continue on the same theme. So, ladies, if a child is finding phonics tricky, what signs might the parents have about that at home, and how could we at school provide extra support for that?
So, some of the signs might be difficulty in retaining phonics that have been taught. It might be that you have some difficulty with what we call phonological awareness. So a child might find it really hard to hear the different sounds in words. So they might find it difficult to isolate the first sound, the end sound, or indeed the middle sound. And when we say difficulty, we're meaning more difficult than their peers, really, as well. Because sometimes it is difficult to hear the middle sounds as well. They might find rhyming a little bit tricky. They might find it quite hard to retain the number of sounds that they've got to hold in their minds to push together.
Okay.
So, for example, if it was hand, it would be d. So they might find that 4 is just too much load on their working memory. So we might do lots of things to help with that. We can shrink it, push 3 sounds together, so we make it and. So then they've only got to push those 2 sounds together.
Is that not a normal thing to do anyway?
We tend to teach them and sort of
get it understood very separately and then move on to that.
That's just an extra step if children
are finding it difficult.
Okay.
In school, we use daily keep-up sessions in line with the programme. So these are just short bursts, little and often, to just reinforce what's been taught on that day, that particular phoneme of the day, and a tricky word, just to ensure it's fresh, it's kind of continued in the working memory, and to help support children to retain those sounds.
Lovely, thank you. So, this one is more to do with sort of reading, I suppose, when we're onto the reading part. How can parents encourage daily practice without making reading feel like a chore or putting pressure on?
I think it's just keeping it short, fun and enjoyable. It needs to be relaxed. So, at this early stage, there's going to be words a child will not be able to recognise. There's going to be sounds they haven't yet been taught. So anywhere that a parent can step in any way, please do. 5 to 10 minutes, especially after a long day at school, they may be feeling very tired. Little and often is the key message, I'd say.
Absolutely.
In this, from
and it's habit forming, isn't it, as well?
Absolutely.
So, anything when you start is more difficult to do daily, but once it becomes part of what you do, it's,
Absolutely.
And it's all the things we talked about before, where you're using a range of cues to support that reading as well. And reading to your children. That's part of reading.
So important.
Yeah. Don't think that some of your children will start to become good readers quite quickly, and don't think that you have to stop reading to them. It's really lovely to make the time or share a book together.
Absolutely.
They read one page, you read one page.
Yeah.
Audio
books they can read along as when they get older. All of those different types of reading is reading, I think.
Absolutely.
And also celebrating progress. It's not just about the outcome, it's the effort that the child puts in to be able to sound out, to segment, to blend, to just try. They won't get it right all the time, especially at this early stage. It is about building progress, celebrating those little milestones and enjoying it together, really.
Little wins are big wins.
Absolutely.
So the final question, I think, for today: why is it so important to have a strong grounding in phonics at age 4, age 5? Why now? Why on reception? And how does that prepare them for what comes later?
So phonics empowers children with the code to unlock words, giving them the power to read and understand the meaning of words. It's an imperative and essential life skill. Especially for independent reading and becoming lifelong readers. We as adults rely daily on our reading abilities to be able to read. It's also vital for language development, comprehension, vocabulary and spelling. Absolutely. And it prepares children for all other learning. It is a foundation in all other areas and subjects.
And I think as they get older as well, the more you read, the richer your own vocabulary is, so the better your writing is. The best way to improve in writing when you're older is by reading, isn't it? With the exposure to everything. Well, thank you both so much for joining us. Thank you to parents at home for joining us. I hope this has given you a bit more confidence to help your children at home with phonics. As always, if anything's come up that you'd like to know more about, please do get in touch. And before we sign off, I want to let you know about our next webinar number 3, which will be recorded in November. I'm delighted to be hosting Positively You, an external company that focuses on positive mental health for children and well-being. And it promises to be an insightful session on how we are going to be helping at school and how you can help your children at home. I'll share all the details near the time with that, and it will be available on the school's YouTube channel, just like this one. So thank you once again for being with us. It's always a pleasure to work in partnership, and we'll see you again very soon.